All praise the Creator, nobody else. Ladies and gentlemen, peace and love to everyone. So today I'm going to show you a couple of videos and a little bit of news. There we go. And we can talk about these things. You just simply would have to in your comments. That's all praise the Creator only. In your comments, you would, you see your comments. And I would like everybody to talk in their comments. Some videos are going to be shown today, and as well, I think it'd be a good idea that everybody pay attention to these videos that we are going to show. Okay, so we're going to get ready to start this up. So first of all, we're going to talk about how the United States is about to be a super soldier thing. Right? They're literally trying to do the super soldier. So we're going to show that video. See if anybody has anything to say about that. How it double trick people, show you the information, the hijack that he used so that you don't get tricked by it, that you don't get tricked by it, you make the hijacks. And then, no one knows everything. So, you're a piece of the puzzle. So I needed to share the information. Okay. Now we're going to talk on old friend JW's TV show. I know him a long time ago. He was on Facebook, and me and him was on Facebook. He started to wake up a little bit after I woke up. And we talked on the phone a couple times. Eventually I went to YouTube, we lost touch, and eventually I started seeing YouTube and happened. But he was on YouTube. The first thing we called is we'll share this with you real quick so that you can see. You share the audio. And y'all can see that, right? Let's go ahead.
Thanks for tuning in here, man. Military activate Project Origin. But first, before we get into Project Origin, I just want to ask you a question, everybody tuning in right now. Do you really think the military is going to tell you if and when something is going on? As you see on the screen, that they've been conducting night training flights from Oregon, California, and then their last flight is over the Oregon Air National Guard. It says March 15th to the 17th. So they've been conducting these, night flights, not letting you know, obviously, everything, just saying, oh, we're just, flying around. That's it. So you really believe if something really was up and that they would need to do air rotations to watch airspace is what I believe is going on. Would they actually tell you that? That's the question I'm asking you, because we gotta be done sipping the Kool-Aid by this point. And so first off, they've activated Project Origin which is something we wanted to get to here. We're going to go into it in a second. As you look down there, robots don't bleed. So you got the Army Special Operations Forces using Project Origin systems. And when we get into it, it actually sounds something like out of science fiction. They're talking about how they're using behavioral command control systems. And just like DARPA wanted to apply super soldier technology where they train AI like some type of dog to do exactly what they wanted to do. So this is all behavioral command and control. And some of the special forces, which I heard, were the ones who got the DARPA brain chips and everything else. So we want to go deeply into this here with you. But anyway, Utah Army Green Berets from the 1st Special Forces Group conducted 2 weeks of hands-on experimentation with Project Origin unmanned systems, conduct data on how these elite soldiers utilize systems and what technology and behaviors are desired. So there it is right there where it kicks in and it says what behaviors are desired. So as we go into that though, you have to take into account the next part here where Congress was just putting in $200 million program to strengthen AI at combating command. So they've just put $200 million in there, not $2 million. And as we move back, here was a program called the DARPA is researching preconscious brain signals to know what someone believes to be true or not. So that program was called DARPA's NEAT program, NEAT. So as we go back into Project Origin, you get a little bit more what's going on. So check this out. They tell you what's going to happen on the battlefield when they implement the robots and just run up in your grill, and pretty much barbecue you. I'm not saying you, I'm saying like anybody else that's out there, probably, China and Russia, obviously, as this whole world stage situation gets set up. Right here, it says these live-fire operations were critical to determining the military utility of the robotic combat vehicle unmanned technology, said Todd Wolf. GVSC's project manager was a Project Origin. The unit was successful with integrating the systems into their formation for both offensive and defensive operations. Project Origin is literally them activating the Terminator robots. So that's what they're doing now, getting ready for everything that's going on.
Yep.
And like I said, on the back ends, as the U.S. just ramped up their $200 million, Russia was pretty much doing pretty much same thing. Russia and China already integrating their AI abilities together. So in the background, while all that's going on, they're talking about they got some robotic snake or something like that can, in the atmosphere somewhere, that can crush enemy satellites. That's what China was talking about. That's something straight out of science fiction. So we definitely wanted to detail this here today and get this report out. What is the military doing flying over the sky over these past few, pretty much since February, they've been doing that. And obviously they're not telling you why they're doing that, and they're just doing it and saying, well, it's just good for training. We know you guys are secretive, so something else is definitely going on. I never say that. I'm gonna say, JW, did you see that 10 super soldiers during Baltimore fire at auto store? No, I did not see that. I will have to confirm that later and look into that. Did not see that. Somebody says, disabled vet says, I was testing smart weapons back in 1990. What happened with those smart weapons? What you think they're doing with them now? You think they're using those smart weapons? Because at this point now, they've activated Project Origin. They're going to actively use that in combat. So it's going to be a different playing field. Obviously, we know about the little small vehicles and everything else. It's pretty much going to go into a deeper phase though now. And so if you missed the video I put out earlier, this was questioning the fact that I said nobody noticed this, and I'll have that video clip on the left-hand side after this one is over. And then I also did a video about CERN.
I remember CERN a lot, for those who don't know. And the whole time while they're messing around, right? Because they are, a lot of things that happen.
A lot of exploding.
A lot of things that happen to the cities, the countries, the asteroid landed. They ain't talked about that. They actually let the cat off the bag. Like sometimes today, this happened 2 years ago. We would like to know something like that. This is maybe a 18 wheeler. Not from what it said, it hasn't caused any damage. And sometimes this guy's been on the news too. So we gonna hear what he found out as well. Real quick. Just a couple of things we want to make clear. If you don't have anything to say about that or anything to bring up, please go ahead. I have you can see the comments.
Brothers, sisters, brother Wisdom, what's going on, guys? The system is up and running right now. I'm going to be turning it off a little bit. My tablet does have a frequency generator on there. I think I'm going to bring the tablet in. I just want to give you guys a quick planetary update, and I'll show you guys. We're going to do this for you guys the functions of this wonderful device in the morning. It is very active right now. You can hear some of the hums. This is the inside speaker, but I got that system outside, and is at 21,360 hertz right now at this present moment. This is just a planetary update. It was just announced, and it was just announced today that Friday, a small asteroid the size of an 18-wheeler landed in Iceland. Part of it landed on the land, the other part of it landed in the water. There was no earthquakes from it because it was small. It was a small asteroid, and there was no tsunamis that happened from it. But that's what happened on Fridays. And it's crazy that they would just announce it today, seeing that it happened Friday. But from what I understood, they wanted to go there and see if they get some specimens, because asteroid specimens to them are expensive. You know, they have to they put money on every goddamn thing, but the money is failing. Japan had a 7.5 earthquake earlier this morning. The USGS downgraded it to a 7.3, but initially when I got it in, when I received the message, the earthquake tracker, and I know when I hit that, woo, 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 I'm like, okay, this is a big boy. It was a 7.5 that hit Japan, and then after that was several other, they call them aftershocks, but there were just several other plasma discharges, because you have the huge plasma discharge, and you know the plasma gets what that energy vibrates or gyrates or whatever, and then it'll explode. And then after that, it's still going to be exploding because the energy is still fresh. But there were several 6.0s after that, and then they finally went down to a 4.0, and right now they have 4.0 going down. 4.0 earthquakes in Japan right now. Right when that 7.5 had erupted, in the 7.5 plasma discharge erupted in Japan. It's like minutes afterwards, there was a 3.8 earthquake in Utah. And Utah may have earthquakes every now and then. Earthquakes are rare in Utah, but that was a significant 3.8 earthquake in Utah. So that energy did go across the globe, and you gotta understand when those earthquakes happen, we have a planet that's a sphere, so the entire planet is going to feel that energy. The entire planet is going to feel that rush. We're looking into some major things that's getting ready to happen on the planet. I was talking with my buddy on the phone, and we were like, a lot of us are not prepared, and it's like, how do you prepare yourself for such thing? Because we got to realize that, at some point there was a huge reset on the planet. These mountains that are actually the carcasses of once lived titans. Those titans, there was no flood that killed the titans, because the titans were bigger than the water. But something happened that there was a complete reset, and these titans were instantly fossilized or crystallized, and they fell to the ground. And these huge creatures. These were huge beings.
I know what happened. I'm actually going to share that video with y'all in a second.
I don't want to say creatures, but these huge beings that were once walking on the planet. And when we're talking about titans, we were talking about beings that were standing at least 100 feet tall. I mean, at least, we're talking about huge beings. We're not talking about some, 30 foot being or whatever. We're talking about somebody who's standing 100 feet tall, 150 feet, 200 feet tall. And these are huge beings who walk this planet. They have mountains, lots and lots of mountains, hundreds of mountains underwater, which are still the carcasses of these titans. So there was a planetary reset that happened. Something happened on the planet that things had to be reset, and now we're coming into this time now, brothers and sisters, where the planet is going to come into a reset. These so-called white folk here on the planet did a lot of fucking damage. They did a lot of damage to the planet. All right, taking the oil out of the planet, killing off the original beings of this world, putting satellites every fucking where. I mean, killing off wildlife for sport, killing off the original beings for sport, the money situation, taking the land from us who actually own the land. I mean, they've done so much diabolical shit all over the planet, and the planet is coming to a reset. Our sun, our galactic sun, is going to be the caregiver of the planet. All right, our galactic sun is going to be the caregiver of the planet. Our galactic sun is getting ready to send this powerful energy, and these beings will not be able to take it. And they all of them are going to literally combust. All right, they're going to combust, and we're going to see things that's going to happen. And the ones that's hiding underground, they're going to come up. All right, they're going to come up after doing the aftermath, and they're going to come up and they're going to be ready to fight. All right. They're going to be ready to fight, and we got to get ready to fight as well. I was watching Kurumi Ahu, and he was dated 1490s when our brothers were fighting against these so-called white folk, these however you want to call them, and they were fighting against them, and how Germany was taken over by them, and how they wanted everything. And we talked about this, how these beings came out of ships and how they literally flooded the land. So the pictures and the history that's over on the other side of the world tells everything. Tell everything that I always talk about, and I've never seen any of those pictures ever. I just remember everything. So the key is that we got to understand that we're looking at a planetary reset, brothers and sisters. We really are. We're looking at a planetary reset, and
there we are. That is happening. That's why you got to prepare. But I did say I was going to show y'all what happened to the giants.
Ancient Egyptians understood that they could use sound to reduce their weight
on their backs, suffocation by death before the creation of the dome. Like whoever created the dome, this level, flat, non-spinning, non-curvature, non-curved earth. Let's see. It's the mountains here. I'm just saying a mountain, rock, special. Do you see the nose and the chin and the face upwards and the eye trying to breathe? Don't worry. There's 70 plus.
I don't know if y'all heard when he first started, he said he can show that the giants were suffocated. So when the creator put the dome on or over the earth, it suffocated the nut. That's how he got rid of the super really big ones. Okay, by suffocating, by putting the dome over the earth. Before the dome was not over on the earth. So the creator put the dome over the earth. Your things that they don't tell you in your books. And the creator did it to suffocate the Nephilim and the tall giants or the fallen that were hundreds of some feet big and tall, whatever. And now you see them as big, huge mountains. Now, if you stare at a picture of the mountain straight up, you'll see a lot of people's faces, their eyes, noses, mouth, his chin. That's his name. It is right there. Right? And the creator suffocated them. They're too big to get down by water. So you see these books leave a lot of things out. You said actually watch that chapter.
Yep. On their backs, suffocation.
That chapter is called, if you can see, matter of fact, you can't see that. Oh, you can see that. So I ain't got to tell you the channel, look at it right here. Like I feel pointing at the channel. Go subscribe to the guy's channel just to see that good information that you should definitely want to see. I hope I just do that. Alright, now let's get to what I was trying to show you.
This book of the Bible, the book of Revelation, contains a frightening vision of cataclysmic events, demonic horsemen, and even a few multi-eyed Bible-accurate angels for good measure. This book is without doubt the strangest and most disturbing book in the whole Bible, so naturally, it's a topic I had to cover on this channel. You may have heard of the book of Revelation, but may not be so familiar with what actually happens in the book. For example, where does the number 666 fit into all of it? If you're looking to learn more about the biblical apocalypse, well, you're in the right place. I've crafted together this handy introductory video. You never know when you might need it. Before we start, it's worth noting that I'm going to examine the book of Revelation from a secular, non-religious perspective. The book is highly symbolic and probably not meant to be taken literally. So, at occasional moments throughout the video, I'll explain what some of the symbolism may mean, using the interpretations of biblical scholars. Disclaimer out the way, bring on the apocalypse. The word apocalypse itself comes from the Greek, and it literally means to uncover something. That's actually why it's called the Book of Revelation. It's all to do with something being revealed. In this case, the end of the world. There's a rich history of these apocalypses in the Old Testament, but they don't necessarily have anything to do with the end times. Sometimes they're just these startling visions of the otherworldly, like a glimpse of God's throne in the book of Ezekiel, or a dream featuring 4 strange beasts in the book of Daniel. The book of Revelation is from the perspective of a guy called John. We don't know much about this character. It's not the same John who baptized people in the Jordan, nor is it the same person who wrote the 4th Gospel. No, this is an entirely different John. It turns out that there's a lot of people called John in the Bible. In fact, some scholars believe that this particular John might not have existed at all. Like most books in the Bible, the book of Revelation was written and edited by anonymous authors, and so John may have been a pseudonym. Scholars say that the oldest part of the book was probably written around 65 CE during the reign of Emperor Nero, and may have reached its final form at around 95 CE during the reign of Emperor Domitian. Both of these emperors, particularly the first one, Emperor Nero, were known for their brutal persecutions of early Christians. A significant detail in order to understand the worldview behind the Book of Revelation. It was written in a frightening time for these first Christians, and their anxieties were captured on the pages, containing a frightening collection of visions about the end of the world. Let's turn to the contents of the vision itself.
The town's oldest manufacturer.
We start off in the idyllic Greek island of Patmos, where our main character John has been exiled. Behind him, he suddenly hears a booming voice calling his name. He turns around, only to see a spectral figure bathed in bright light, surrounded by 7 golden lampstands. This unnamed person, who some believe to be Jesus himself, has a very strange appearance. He is enrobed in white, with eyes like fire, and protruding from his mouth is a sharp, two-edged sword. Yes, this description is in the text, and trust me, it's not the strangest we've yet to see. This strange figure tells John to write to the 7 churches dotted across the Mediterranean, to give them a heads up about what's about to go down. Once he does so, John is immediately whisked up into heaven. From there, John gives a spectacular account of everything he sees. In front of him is a giant throne, with 24 smaller thrones surrounding it. The central throne is so bright, glistening like many precious stones, that we can't actually make out the figure sitting on it, but we can safely assume that it's meant to be God himself. But his attention...
So in other words, this is the person describing ships. Mothership, a whole bunch of other ships. And because people, the misinterpretation people have or had, they keep on saying things like that he just repeated, not realizing this was a description of a mothership and a whole bunch of spaceships. Okay? You don't realize when they use the word L or G or D, and the book actually describes the devil. This is a story that was then added into the book, okay, because the devil knows what he's going to do in the voices at the end. The devil told you he was going to do. But people, there are other sources of stuff like this going on in the book. People have twisted it to make a religion out of something that shouldn't be. This is just proof of the fall that was coming on the mothership and a whole bunch of little small ships that shine and glisten. You couldn't even see them, they were bright. Just like a lot of these so-called fireballs that you see in the sky flying around. Some call them flying saucers, UFO, IFOs. The government even has some, so whatever. But that's another story.
Attention is quickly drawn to 4 strange, multi-eyed beasts that are floating around near the throne. Although the Bible calls them simply living creatures, you may already be familiar with them as Bible-accurate angels, good friends of the channel at this point. Here's a description he gives of them. Around the throne, and on each side of the throne, are 4 living creatures, full of eyes in front and behind. The first living creature is like a lion. The second living creature is like an ox. The third living creature with a face like a human face. And the fourth living creature like a flying eagle. All 4 living creatures, each of them with 6 wings, are full of eyes all around and inside. Day and night without ceasing they sing, Holy, 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 the Lord God the Almighty, who was and is to come. A very strange description.
So those fallen ones, right? And they're praising the fallen ones. So you have to realize what's being said in the Bible. They're praising the number one fallen. They're not praising the Creator, because the Creator is everywhere and nowhere, outside of everything, but works through all things, and is in some of us and some things. The same thing that makes the grass grow and flowers bloom, trees grow. Without you even have to do anything, makes the weeds grow. Is the Creator, that energy, that source. Okay, they used to call it the Great Spirit, right? Now, ancestors, let's say their ancestors called it. So now, since time has changed, and they have created the book, you can see where they have to put sneaky stuff in there. And most of these is going to go through, as you can see, the horse, right? A man riding a donkey or horse, right? Be the fallen one. Now here's a clue that's a fallen one, right? Time. That's the time, and also the scale of your heart with do's and bad deeds. Okay, the Sandman. Who's the Sandman? The fallen, devil. Right? Let's go ahead
And out comes a rider on a black horse, holding weighing scales. This is the horseman of famine. Finally, the 4th seal is broken, and out comes a rider on a pale horse, the embodiment of death itself. With 4 of the 7 seals broken, the land creature hands the 4 horsemen a quarter of the Earth's population to destroy, either through violence, famine, pestilence, or death. Okay, so there are 3 seals left, and 3 unpleasant events left to transpire. Luckily, Seal 5 is a bit of a dud. Nothing really happens other than the souls of the martyrs are given nice white robes. and told to wait around a bit for the final judgment. But when Seal 6 is opened, things get really nasty for people on Earth. No sooner than the seal is broken, and there's a giant earthquake. An earthquake so large that, quote, every mountain and island was removed from its place. If we take this literally, this kind of earthquake would far surpass the magnitudes of the biggest recorded earthquakes, like the 1960 Valdivia earthquake in Chile that measured 9.5 on the Richter scale. Such a large earthquake would be particularly bad news for anyone living on tectonic fault lines. As well as a cataclysmic earthquake, the sixth seal would also make the sky turn black. Were it to happen, perpetual darkness would be devastating for Earth, especially for plant life, which requires sunlight to perform photosynthesis. Interestingly, such events have actually happened before, and are often caused by major volcanic eruptions. In 536 CE, during a period in European history aptly known as the Dark Ages, a giant volcanic eruption, believed to be from Indonesia, triggered what is known as a volcanic winter. This is when vast quantities of volcanic ash enter the atmosphere, dimming the sunlight and causing rapid cooling. Writing from Constantinople in 536, Byzantine historian Procopius wrote that, quote, during this year, a most dreaded portent took place, for the sun gave forth its light without brightness, and it seemed exceedingly like the sun in eclipse, for the beams it shed were not clear. Other contemporary writers as far away as Ireland have attested to the same extreme weather, indicating that this phenomenon may have been widespread at the time, and that the Earth was indeed in a volcanic winter. If giant earthquakes and volcanic winters were not enough, the sixth seal also describes how, quote, the stars of the sky fell to Earth. Now, if an actual star collided with the Earth, then that'd really be game over, as Earth would be engulfed into a much larger ball of flame and plasma. It is more likely, therefore, that the author is referring to a meteor shower. Often these are quite harmless. Earth orbits through many space rocks every day, resulting in beautiful shooting stars. Things get dangerous, however, when these rocks are big enough to not fully burn up in the atmosphere. One such occasion was the Tunguska event in 1908, where a meteoroid of an estimated 100 meters landed in eastern Siberia, flattening the surrounding forest of up to 2,100 square kilometers, that's 830 square miles. Being in Siberia, the land was sparsely populated, so only 3 people were believed to have been killed. Had this landed on a city in 1908, then it would have been truly catastrophic. Seal 6 is pretty brutal. Mega earthquakes, perpetual darkness, and meteorite impacts. But there is one more seal left, the 7th seal. Fortunately, just like Seal 5, Seal 7 doesn't bring too much calamity. The book simply says, quote, there was a silence in heaven for about half an hour. Perhaps the multi-eyed living creatures from earlier can finally get a break from singing God's praises.
Editor X presents 5 steps to win over any client. Step 1, sweep.
Silence, in other words, will be a month or so after everything hits the fan and all the rocks and everything, whole 9 yards happen, and the devil comes on the scene, acting as if he can fix everything, pretending to be the Most High. And we know the Most High is not a physical being or thing, but that's what the devil's going to do. Because a lot of these camps and a lot of these churches and everything, a lot of folks is pushing it. If they ain't pushing it, they calling all the names. Not realizing that all the names and titles is indeed the devil, just adjacent devil. Whatever you want to tell, you want to call a name, it's still the devil, it don't matter. Okay, that's why we always say creator. Okay, the source, the force, the great spirit, the energy. Those are things you can say to describe the creator. But as far as the name goes, you heard the great prophet say Enoch, and he said he's praised one without no name. The one that has no name. Okay, and I read that to you in one of the books. I might read it again for anybody who's a newcomer, so you can see how teachers are erring in the ways when they read these books that they even repeat the name. Not in teaching manner, but just to read it and not explaining what it means. So folks understand that they gotta go and hide it from some things. And that can cause confusion because you put folks into saying the name, mistaking that their name, head, or title, right, that they use in these books is good, but it's obviously not. Now let's get on to, as far as, so we probably only gonna People are gonna bow down. There's gonna be a multitude that nobody can count. That's gonna sit there and worship this fallen being.
You would have thought that the 7 seals were enough to end Earth. More bad things are on the way. Almost as soon as the 7th seal is opened, out come 7 angels holding 7 trumpets. Now, you've probably noticed that the number 7 appears quite a bit in the book of Revelation. 7 golden lampstands, 7 seals, now 7 trumpets. The number 7 is a significant one throughout the Bible. For example, in the book of Genesis, it reportedly took 7 days to create the universe. In the ancient world, this number 7 was often regarded as the number of completion. The idea that the number 7 was a special number carried on into later Christian tradition, where you also get the 7 deadly sins, which, by the way, is another topic I've covered on the channel. Forget what you've seen about cute angels with sweet little trumpets. These 7 trumpets are about to destroy the earth. It's about to get dark, and in the case of trumpet 4, quite literally. Let's quickly rattle off what each trumpet does. Trumpet 1 causes fire and hail to rain down on the earth. Wildfires soon rage on the planet, and a third of Earth's vegetation gets burnt up. Trumpet 2 sounds, and a great mountain-sized object falls into the sea, turning a third of the oceans into blood. It also kills a third of the innocent sea creatures, which is pretty sad. Trumpet 3 plays, and a star falls from heaven and lands onto the Earth's rivers. The star is even given a name, wormwood. This is actually a type of semi-poisonous herb, also known as mugwort, which makes sense in the book of Revelation because wormwood contaminates all the world's fresh water supplies, making it bitter and toxic. Trumpet 4 toots, and a third of the sun goes out, shrouding the planet in darkness. We seem to have already had this one already, back in the 6th seal. This discrepancy has led some scholars to suggest that a different author is writing here, perhaps unaware of the previous destruction wrought by the 7 seals. Trumpet 5, in my opinion, is the strangest of them all. An angel descends to Earth with a big key. The key opens a large trapdoor to a bottomless pit, and out of the pit comes a thick black smoke that eclipses whatever sunlight was left. Then, out of the dense fumes, emerge giant locusts that swarm and cause plagues all over the Earth. Now, these aren't just any giant locusts, they are Book of Revelation giant locusts, and so they're given a very disturbing description. Here goes. They have human faces and long flowing hair. They wear armor and have little crowns on their head. Oh, also, they have lion's teeth and giant scorpion stingers. Because, again, why not? These creatures are given the instruction to sting people, but not enough to kill them. In fact, it says that people will be unable to die during this time, no matter how much they might wish to. This is absolute nightmare fuel, but there are still 2 trumpets to go. Trumpet 6 is sounded, and 4 angels are released to kill a third of humankind. They will help to exterminate a third of human population. The final trumpet, trumpet 7, doesn't cause any destruction. Instead, there's a little hymn for those of heaven, and a few flashes of lightning here and there, but no major destruction on Earth. At this point, I'd imagine that the world is practically unlivable. I'm starting to think that calling this video a survival guide might seem a bit pointless. The water has turned into blood, things are on fire, there's no sunlight anymore, and there are giant manticore-looking locusts stinging people. The Book of Revelation has really gone to town in painting the most disastrous picture possible. Believe it or not, there are still yet more troubles to come, but in the form of 3 giant monsters. Up first is a giant red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns. So 2 of the 7 heads have 2 horns each. The tail of the dragon is so large that when it sweeps, it apparently casts a third of the stars down. We find out that the red dragon is Satan himself, who is suddenly attacked and defeated by the archangel Michael. Dragon Satan gets booted out of heaven and thrown down to earth, and the land swallows him up. After this strange little episode comes the main attraction, the 2 so-called beasts. The first beast comes out from the sea. This first beast has the shape of a leopard. It's got feet like a bear and a mouth like a lion. It's got multiple heads, and no surprises that there are 7 of them. Like the dragon, it's got 10 horns, with a diadem on each of those horns. One of the heads, however, looks to be wounded. Once coming up from the sea, this beast goes around bad-mouthing God and saying all kinds of blasphemies. The survivors on Earth, and yes, apparently there are survivors, all start to worship this monster. Then, suddenly, the Earth opens up, and another strange beast comes out from the ground, Compared with the first beast, the description is lacking a bit. All we get is that it has 2 horns like a lamb, but speaks like a dragon, and that's really it. This beast goes around telling the inhabitants of Earth how great beast number 1 is, and performs a bunch of magic tricks to prove it's legit. The character is later known as the False Prophet, although you may be familiar with the name used for it in other Christian texts, the Antichrist, literally meaning the anti-Messiah. So, should you choose to believe in this monster, bad news for you. This beast goes around and writes a specific number on the foreheads of idolaters, the famous mark of the beast, the number 666. What is significant about this number, 666? Well, many biblical scholars have suggested that it's a code for the tyrannical Emperor Nero. You see, in the classical world, there was this practice of assigning letters to numbers. It's known as gematria. Hebrew letters have this system too, and if you spell out Emperor Nero in Hebrew, they add up to the number 666. Some of the oldest versions of the Book of Revelation, like this papyrus manuscript found at Oxyrhynchus in Egypt, have the number 616. Gematria still works here, just for a different spelling of Nero's name. Interestingly, the Book of Revelation says that in order to buy and sell things, you need to show the mark of the beast. As with today's currencies, Roman coins often featured the head of state, in this case the emperor. So, in order to barter and trade, you need to show the mark of the beast, i.e. the Emperor Nero's face on coinage. This interpretation is further supported by the Greek word,
or also the mark, which we all know what that mark is for those that took that leap. We ain't gonna say anything more than that because, YouTube is probably hating.
for mark, as in mark the beast, which is haragma, and it's most commonly used to refer to the imprinting of coins. What's the Emperor Nero got to do with the beast? Well, Emperor Nero, who ruled from 54 to 68 CE, was responsible for a number of infamous Christian persecutions. Early Christians refused to worship the emperor, who, in the imperial cult, was a divine figure. Instead, they held that their exclusive belief was in God, the God of Israel. This enraged many a Roman emperor, especially Nero, who attempted to persecute them out of existence. He even blamed the Great Fire of Rome on the Christians, and contemporary writers wrote harrowing accounts of all the suffering this emperor inflicted, such as throwing Christians to lions. As a result, Nero especially became a symbol of evil. So, when the Book of Revelation is talking about people worshipping the beast, it refers to the practice of worshipping the emperor. All this is done in code. Those who bear the mark 666, in other words Nero, will be condemned to suffer for all eternity. Whilst the earth is under the dominion of these strange beasts / Roman emperors, up in heaven the angels are preparing the final phase of destruction. We've had 7 seals, 7 trumpets, and now we've got 7 bowls. These bowls are said to be full of God's wrath, whatever that entails. Either way, the bowls work in a similar way to the seals and trumpets. When they're poured onto the earth, bad things happen. Here we go again, final one this time. Bowl 1 is poured onto the earth, and painful sores and boils form on all the people who wear the mark of the beast on their forehead. Bowl 2 causes the whole sea now to turn into blood, no longer just a third of it. Bowl 3 causes fresh water, lakes, and rivers to turn to blood. Yes, that's the blood in this passage. Bowl 4 causes the sun's heat to intensify, scorching deeply earth badly. Bowl 5 causes the kingdom of the beast to go dark, and political instability ensues. Some have seen it as a reference to the fall of the Roman Empire. Bowl 6 causes the river Euphrates, that's in modern-day Iraq, to dry up. Later, the world's armies all assemble and do battle at a place known as Armageddon. Fun fact, the Hebrew word for Armageddon is Har Megiddo, referring to Mount Megiddo in northern Israel. Over time, Har Megiddo shifted to Armageddon, and because of the Book of Revelation, it became another name for the apocalypse. Bowl 7 is your classic Book of Revelation business. Lightning, hailstones, and a massive earthquake which destroys the city of Babylon. However, where Babylon was the great city of evil in the Old Testament, by the time of the New Testament being written, the city of Babylon had long been deserted, having been conquered by the Persians some 500 years before. So instead, many believe that Babylon is a reference to the capital city of the empire, Rome. Again, it's another example of the Book of Revelation speaking in code.
This story is extraordinary, especially if it's true.
After a third and final round of devastation, which seems to me a tad excessive, the vision in the Book of Revelations begins to near its end. In fact, the whole thing wraps up pretty quickly, without much of a struggle. The first and second beast are captured by the armies of God and are kicked into, quote, a lake of fire that burns with sulfur, which is probably a reference to hell. Then the giant multi-headed dragon, which is Satan, is locked up in the pit too, and is sealed for 1,000 years. In this intermission, Jesus comes down to rule the earth until things pick up again. Well, time flies.
Okay, so the devil, of course, they're going to have this fake war as well in the sky. You can see that too. They got Project Bluebeam, and then they're going to have the devil come down from the sky and claim that he is the Most High. Well, the Most High is not a physical being or thing. And people don't fall for it. So these are what you see is a two different things that will have obviously made sure got in that book. And what the key things that he's going to try to do. All right, and with his buddies, that's what something he's going to try to do. If he actually breaks some of that down, some of this is already happening, some of this is not happening. All right, he's about to end the video, so anyway. In fact, we're going to skip. Okay, yeah, we're gonna skip that because he's gonna start trying to push the whole Mr. Great thing now. That's what he was actually headed to. So let's do one more video. And just to show you that things are speeding up. Because the news ain't gonna talk about it. And then next time. Actually, I'll tell you what, we'll do two more. I hope you know. Two more. After these two, we gotta end it.
This means masters or master of our world, and is Anu draws the lots. King Anu on his throne with wife Antu during their first visits to Earth in order to divide the Earth. Anu is the eternal king for all.
So the fallen ones came down and claimed that they're the eternal ones when they're not. They said that they were creators. They divided the earth and had their own kingdoms as they, of course, added their religion. So they got double bullhorns, a double sitting on a double's throne. All right, and this religion tricks you. That's Uberu, the flying planet-like spaceship, which is hell on that ship. All right, and of course, how he has other fallen ones, not only just worship the devil, but they also do some of these dirty work. They always together.
Generations called Olam. This means masters or master of our world, and is found in Exodus 3:15 and Psalm 90. He is also sitting on a pine cone. The biblical Garden of Eden is not a mythological place, but has a real location with real meanings. And in order to understand what happened at this place, it is necessary to explain the dynamics of the word Eden. E means home, and the second syllable is an abbreviation of the word and meaning Dinger or Dinger, which is Anu's symbol. And it's on the front cover of the book that I wrote. It is a Sumerian name for.
That's why they call Eden. The god of Eden was Eden, Edomites. So they tricked you with that. the play. That's why I said it was a garden. We did think it was Nard that regret, but also we found the devil stole even the name of that. So it was the garden of the children of light, is what it was. We just keep it simple.
God or
the Garden of Eden was again their story about how the devil made them, and it goes even further, but they mix it and twist their story with ours, displaying something that happened, but we don't want out, which is why a while ago I did the lesson called The Rape of Evil, although we know the lineage
for goddess. So therefore, the Eden or Eden is the home of the gods or goddesses. The home of the supreme god, and was
of the fallen one, of Eden. All right, not the Eden that our place would have been the garden of children of light. But the Eden story again is just further proving this. Some folks may not want to hear this, they might be able to accept it, but eventually you got to start being honest with yourself and seeing how you got tricked.
in the heavens, and this was a contrast to Ki or earth. This is precisely where we get the Anunnaki name.
In the so-called heavens, which is just the top of the earth, which is under the dome. Again, the moon, Mars, Earth, and the sun, under the dome. They have their own little domes, and fallen ones who are way smaller than these guys were live on and inside these planets. Take the moon, for example, that was also a spaceship. And then since it said the moon that didn't exist, it wasn't even there. Somebody had moved it there. So if it's flying around in orbit, that means somebody flew it into there.
Those who from heaven or sky to earth or Ki came down. This is simply the Anu Ki, or gods and goddesses from heaven and earth. Ancient cuneiform texts describe more than one home of the Anunnaki.
In other words, the fallen ones that came down.
The gods. Anu came to earth to draw the lots, and wisely divided the earth into geographical locations between two blood brothers and rival competitors and groups. This was headed by two clansmen, Inki and Enlil, respectively, or the Inkites, who headed up the African continent, and the Enlilites, who inhabited Asia and the fertile lands of Mesopotamia. This is
which were obviously two different fallen places, because we know that Africa was where the fallens in the world went. Now Herman, okay, we know that all the dark-skinned people are not our people, is a fact. We also know that in China and the Asian places, they were there to, we do know they came on time and October, but they didn't get to mix us, but they mixed other people on different lands. And this explains also why they eventually released us. Okay, kids were had, okay, let's be honest, the Bible tells you they had sex with women. So obviously, whoever their sons were the ones that actually, they were successful at leading these people against us. All right, then what happened is that one of their sons would have been. And we do know that they had a lot of kids, black people. That's why the Creator did what he did.
essentially we're dealing with the Western Eden in Africa and the Eastern Eden in Mesopotamia. The book is called Holy F, Secret Biblical Conspiracy of an Anunnaki God's Madman.
If I keep telling y'all to go ahead and get the book, you should. All right, let's get back to some news. All right, and those are just showing you how the devil tricked you, put stuff in the book, but also how the devil also has so many darn names. He was tricking everybody for a long time. Now, as far as more news, you heard the brother talk about it. Some of y'all want to probably see the evidence, right?
Hello and welcome to the Two Preachers channel. My name is Chris Bridgen. This is Reza Afshar. This is part 9 of our worldwide weekly compilation.
Yeah, I'm not getting out of my car anytime soon. Oh. There's a tornado. I can't believe I'm capturing this right now. Brittany, I am the most scared I've ever been. My car's moving so much. I'm in the middle of a tornado right now. Oh, God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Oh, I hope it doesn't. Well, we are headed into town. We haven't gotten to Highway 69. Oh, it's coming. Okay, Mom. He's backing up. Well, there's nowhere to go from. He's backing up. Yeah, look at that car. He's turning around. He's like, hell no.
I'm driving, okay?
Okay, I will. Okay, bye. You want me to hold that, Tim?
Y'all know what it is, man. 50 Sons. The verse 5 is the big plan behind it.
Tres cruces. Miren lo que doble. Chingado.
Oh, for sure.
Hello, y'all. I'll see you.
Yo, got the whole place red. Where's that at? North Africa, Alaska, Australia, Tunguska Sea, that's in Spain, east of Spain. That's USA, North Mexico, Northern Mexico, Europe, fireballs fall from the sky, 2 fireballs, somewhere. Other stuff like that. So those are the locust ships. Their past fireballs, I told y'all that. Now you see the evidence.
Right, before you go, comments down, I will try to
If those are falling to the ground, unfortunately, most of y'all wouldn't see it happen. It would just happen. In California, they're gonna keep spraying the skies because they're hiding. A lot of the ships that are hiding real things are happening. But it's also just be dead honest with y'all. We discussed that last live that we did. So I just wanted to say our kudos to help y'all learn and see how double trick people. And of course with evidence, because so many names and a whole lot more and news and things that I've been talking about. Plus you've got clients with interesting things. If I'm correct, I think we did like 6-7 videos, which is good enough to have plenty of videos to show you. Article over I'm posting on. So I'll get to them. Y'all playing catch up. That's okay. But definitely as you see things start to ramp up, it's best that everybody go ahead and start looking for a place to go. With that said, all praise the Creator. Peace and love to everybody and nobody else.